Miss Ramsey, how you doing? It's been a long time since our last chat, but I had to get in contact with you. I had to reach out to you to talk about this video you did on MTV Decoded about colorblindness not solving racism. Now, I always thought that if you did not want to be a racist, you look at each individual on the content of their character, like Martin Luther King would say. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, somebody sent me this video and they said that you had a different opinion than what I always thought was the thing that made sense. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into it, shall we?
Have you ever wondered why people say, oh, I don't see color as a way to fix racism?
Well, like I say, I mean, if you don't want to have racism, then you shouldn't see color. Everything should be about just the individual, right?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Oh, well, excuse the hell out of me.
On this show, we talk about race all the time.
Obviously.
But I've got a bomb to drop. Biologically speaking, race doesn't exist.
I beg to differ on that. I mean, look at your hair, look at your face. No other people on earth have that outside of us as blacks. And look at the Olympics. Look at the 100-yard dash. Who do you see? You see us. There are differences. There are races, and we can't really ignore that.
Oh my goodness, we've all been lied to! Wait, why am I hosting this show? So race isn't biological, but the social construct of race and racism still have a very real impact on everyone's lives. And this isn't just about feelings. Race is all about the structural foundation of social power.
I mean, I don't think race is what you're looking for. I think maybe ethnic groups in certain places, that'd be more fitting, because if you go to certain countries in Africa, if you go to Nigeria, there's going to be a conflict between the Igbos, Yorubas, maybe the Hausa in certain places. And if you go to Europe, if you go to like the Balkans, you're going to have conflict between the Serbs, the Croatians, etc. That's more of what you mean. I don't think that's really a race thing.
So why do so many people incorrectly think race is biological? Well, beyond the fact that we like to group people based on external characteristics, it goes like this. In biology, there is a concept of genetically different subspecies, which a lot of people confuse with human races. Biologists actually have a scale for this, and humans don't even come close to qualifying.
I mean, but according to what biologists, is this correct? I think there is an argument to be made about different subspecies. I mean, you can hear my voice and tell that I'm black. You can see my physical features. I mean, it's really no comparison between me coming from sub-Saharan Africa and somebody coming from way far northern Europe, like the Vikings, the Nordics. It's completely different. So I think there is an argument to be made. I think maybe a lot of biologists would not make the argument because they don't want to be considered racist, just like a lot of air quotes scientists won't say that climate change is not real because they don't want to be accused of heresy.
Throughout history, people have used this incorrect understanding of subspecies to justify all kinds of terribleness and even proclaim other races as less than human. But modern genetics has shown that the lines around race are so arbitrary that they're actually meaningless. And since I'm not a scientist, I'll take a quote. Francis Collins, the director of the National Human Genome Research Institute, said it himself.
Francis Collins, a Christian who supports evolution. Interesting.
Those who wish to draw precise racial boundaries around certain groups will not be able to use science as a legitimate justification. Oops, I dropped the mic.
Again, according to who? I mean, science is not just like a static thing. It's something that's always changing, it's always evolving. There are different opinions in it. And then when new evidence is found, then opinions change.
So if race doesn't exist biologically, why do we keep talking about it? Sound the alarm! We keep talking about race because we created it. Yay, us! That's right, race is a social construct. A social construct is a category, perception, or idea created and developed by society and then applied to individuals or groups. But social constructs are still very real and have huge impacts on our lives. Because you know what else is a social construct? Money.
So you're going to compare race to money. I'm not really sure how you make that connection. Race is something that is just a natural thing. Look at my face and look at your face. You see the similarities. We're not related, but yet and still, these are natural characteristics that are found within a lot of African Americans, within a lot of Africans in general. But money is something that can be created by anybody. All you need is a printing press and then people that are willing to accept it, and that's it. But race is a completely different animal. It's a whole monster of a different color.
And if you don't think money has an enormous impact on your life, well then congratulations. You either have a trust fund or you're an adorable baby. Or maybe you're a dog. Here's what I know. Talking about racism just creates more racism.
Well, of course. I mean, when you just harp on racism, what is the logical result going to be other than to have more of it?
No. First off, race isn't the problem. Racism is. And even if it was the problem, problems don't get worse when you talk about them, and they don't magically go away when you ignore them. Not true. I had 5 cavities, I ignored them, and all 5 of those teeth fell out. Poof. Problem solved.
I will give you that, Franchesca. You're a very funny young lady. I mean, I don't know how you're going to compare cavities to, air quotes, racism. Racism is a feeling that people have that's just something that's their opinion. You can't compare a cavity, something that is like a physical defect, to an opinion about another person. That doesn't make any sense.
Colorblindness, while nice in theory, has no effect on structural and institutional racism. Racism is a system, and that system benefits certain people at the expense of others. Ignoring it just lets those problems persist. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at some examples where colorblindness doesn't work.
Let's do it.
Number 1, preschool punishment. Let's face a fact, preschool-aged children of every race are monsters. But according to the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights report released in 2014, Black children make up 18% of preschoolers, but almost half of all suspensions. Half.
Well, are you surprised, Miss Ramsey? You can't blame that on racism. I mean, how are you going to blame racism when those same stats bear themselves out when the kids get to be adults? You got 50% of all the murder victims in the United States are Black, and 52% of all the murderers are also Black. I mean, come on. And who do you think is raising these children? It's the same people that create those people that go out there and wreak all the havoc. That's what's going on. It's not anything about racism. It has nothing to do with racism. That is just a problem that we have in the Black community that we have to fix. And we can't look at white America or anybody else as the culprit or the solution.
And I don't think anybody believes all these preschool teachers are racist out to get little Black children, but the data shows that Black and Latino children often face steeper punishments than their white classmates for the same behavior. That's a problem. And simply believing we shouldn't see race or we shouldn't talk about race does nothing to solve this problem.
Now, don't be misleading, Ms. Ramsey. I know you're a pretty lady. I like you a little bit, but don't be misleading. Now, when you say the same offense, are you saying the same offense just for the same amount of times with no previous history? Prime example, if a Black kid gets suspended for, punching somebody in the head, and a white kid gets suspended for the same thing, but the Black kid gets more time suspended, is it because of racism, or is it because that Black kid is a habitual offender who kept doing it over and over again, and then the white kid just did it one time? Compare apples to apples. Don't be misleading, please.
Number 2. The name study. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research confirmed that people with ethnic sounding names, that's a whole nother episode, are less likely to get interviewed when they apply for jobs. Meanwhile, applicants with white sounding names actually get 33% more callbacks for interviews. It's the equivalent of having 8 years of additional experience. Shout out to all the white Taquans struggling to get job interviews.
Now, come on, Miss Franchesca. I mean, you know that ghetto names often come with ghetto problems. That's why they have a hard time being hired. I mean, it's just that simple. If you're a hiring manager and you got a stack of resumes to go through and you see a Boonquisha fly across your desk, you're going to put that in the trash. And the reason why is because a person's name denotes what kind of parents they have. And if they have bad parents that gave them a terrible name, then what's going to end up happening is they're going to be a bad employee more often than not. And it's unfortunate. And the thing about it is, if you feel like your name is holding you back, then change it. And don't say that, oh, just because you're Black, you got to have a terrible name. I mean, my name is very common in the Black community, Anthony. I know a lot of people named Anthony. I probably know more Anthonys than anybody else, and all of them are Black, except for one Italian guy.
And it's not just Black and white. They've done similar studies around the world, and in Canada, people with white-sounding names were 35% more likely to get callbacks than people with Indian or Chinese-sounding names. So instead of just assuming people shouldn't care about color or names, companies, governments, and schools should take the bias out of hiring and experiment with nameless resumes to, solve the problem.
Why is all your stuff focused around white people? I mean, when you're talking about name discrimination or people not being hired because of their name, why don't you go to other places around the world that are not necessarily white-centered? I mean, why don't you go to South Korea? Try getting a job with LG, Kia Motor Company, something like that, and you're not Korean. Good luck with that. Good luck. Try going to Japan when you're not Japanese, a place that's 98.5% Japanese. Good luck with that. Try going to China when you're not Chinese and just opening up shop. Good luck with that. Try going to Africa as a Chinese person trying to set up shop. Good luck with that. A lot of people in China are going to Africa to basically take over and the people that are there are not feeling it. If you are a Chinese businessman, your life is in danger in certain parts of Africa. So don't just have everything be so white centered. Look at the world for more than just through the lens of whites.
Number 3, renting an apartment. When the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Urban Institute did a study about real estate, they found that Black, Latino, and Asian renters were shown up to 12% fewer units than white renters.
I mean, but why is that though? Why is that? Do you think it's just because of racism, because they don't like black skin? Or is it because of the problems that a lot of times we bring to apartment complexes that the tenants who already live there don't want to deal with? Now, I wish it wasn't like that. I wish we could just act right. But a lot of times that's kind of what's going on. And also you got to look at the whole situation. Don't just look at it for, oh, because they're black and because they're white. Now, I know you did a whole thing with the white actors and black actors and everything else, but that's kind of hard to judge. You got to look at the whole situation.
And when the Fair Housing Justice Center used actors to apply for apartments, they found that Black and Latino renters were often told there were no apartments available, while white applicants were shown apartments in the same building. So this building has a pool, a laundry room, and a racist landlady. Colorblindness won't fix housing discrimination. We're going to need smart laws and a concerted effort for that.
So what kind of laws do you suggest, Ms. Ramsey? Are you suggesting that landlords be forced to rent to certain individuals because of their race? Now, if that's the case, then you understand that the converse will happen as well. You understand that people will be turned away because of their race in order to accommodate others because of their race. Now, if you're going to fix, air quotes, racism, I don't think having legislated racism is the way to go about it.
So tell me again how colorblindness is going to fix the fact that I can't get an education, a job, or a house.
Come on, don't be so dramatic. Don't be so dramatic. I'm sure you have all of that right now. You're black, and so am I. I have it too. So let's not be dramatic. Cut it out.
In many cases, colorblindness is actively harmful because it creates a false sense of security for the groups it directly benefits. The people who've benefited from systemic racism can assume that they got the job or a house or weren't suspended from preschool simply because they were more qualified or just better.
But you're racist if you think that that's not the case. I mean, how do you know that? How do you know that somebody did not get an advancement in life or a better place in society because they were just better? How do you know that? How can you be for certain that that's the case? You're being racist. I think that's not a good look on you, Ms. Ramsey, with all due respect.
Ignoring race, or only acknowledging that it doesn't exist biologically, is not a solution to these systemic issues. It takes work, effort, laws, and new systems to undo racism.
Well, Ms. Ramsey, you know, it was a good conversation, but now we come to a close. Race is something that is real. You can't ignore it. You can't act like it doesn't exist. There are differences. The only way to solve any kind of feelings of racism is just to not be so much focused on it. It's here and we can't really do anything about it, but you can't just harp on it all the time, every day. That's not going to fix anything. All we can do as human beings is work to improve ourselves individually and our families, and that's it. And any kind of struggles about race could eventually go away. Have freedom of association. You're able to live wherever you want, eat wherever you want, play wherever you want, and that's fine. And I think that right there will solve a lot of the problems that we have with racial and ethnic tension. When you have people that are put into a place that they're not the same culturally, physically, mentally, whatever it is, there's going to be problems. In any culture where there are different races that are together, there's going to be racism. In any culture where people are put together that are not the same, there's going to be problems. But the more you focus on the problems, the more the problems will continue to fester. Focus on fixing yourself individually without help from the outside world, and you'll be all right. That's all I got to say. You know, I thought this was a good chat we had. You know, I look forward to the next time that I get sent a video that you've done about something that relates to this topic. I feel like it's a dog whistle just for me, and I got to respond. So anybody out there listening, what do you think? Do you think that my assertion of her points was on point, or do you think that what she said was on point and what I said was not on point? Whatever your comments are, positive or negative, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.